All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Engineering the Markets. Happy Monday to everyone joining us. And as always, my name is Jared. It is August 29th, 2022. We're just about done with the month. And boy, what a trading session we had on Friday. I think a lot of people have been shocked and sort of caught by surprise at the momentum, downside behavior, and just overall lack of support or bid in the overall S&Ps on Friday, as not only did we break down, starting a new downtrend, obviously losing some levels of interest and very key levels that we've been identifying back in June, but we've also broken through the expected move on the week. And this is sort of a notable behavior that the market continues to showcase during times of high volatility and continues to enforce that this market is a trader's market. This is a challenging market to buy and hold. It's a challenging market to sell and hold, but it is a market to buy and sell back and forth. Being flexible, being somewhat comprehensive in your analysis, and ultimately finding those moments to say the risk is not worth it anymore. The downside or the upside is not worth the amount of potential unrealized loss that I can take as a trader, as a portfolio manager. So that's going to be somewhat of our theme this week as we look at some of our just initial data. We're starting the week, so it's important to discuss our expected move this week. But let's start off with what happened last week. The S&P was pricing about an $82 expected move for the entire week. And what was notable about last week was we started on a gap down open. The market on Monday gapped down from Friday's close. We actually moved the entirety of the expected move. And one could argue that we were basically trading near the expected move most of the week. Market really wasn't bullish or bearish in this area. It simply was trading sideways. Thursday, we saw a return. And this was kind of an interesting spot to be for the market because so long as we were moving away from this expected move, we could close relatively flat or basically just be within expectation. Volatility would basically have calculated a correct risk range for the week. But we knew Friday was important. We knew that Jackson Hole was going to possibly spark some volatility, and boy, did it. Not only did the S&P break down, but we saw a 2 sigma move in the SPX, which essentially means that a market that was supposed to move 82 points moved over 160 from Friday's close. So from our basically start point to the close, this is about $170 of price movement, as evident by the difference between these two numbers. And what makes that so interesting is it's on a Friday. So the volatility and the overall gamma risk in the option market is elevated on a Friday. Markets can move relatively quickly, and especially if we start breaking through levels, that can obviously exacerbate risk. That can be both to the upside or the downside. Market will simply hedge into that dynamic behavior, and really it can feel like there's no bottom or no top. Another notable piece here is that because we broke expected move, we expect overall volatility in the market to expand. And that's certainly what we're seeing as of this morning. So first things first, our new expected move for the week is about 109.87. Now, I haven't drawn these levels out, but we'll just quickly estimate these based on last week's close. So our Friday close was about 40.57. 110 from that brings us to about 41.67. So you'll want to mark that And what's interesting about that is it's exactly where our expected move was last week, except now it's our upside level. So very interesting sort of reflection. All of the risk last week was at this high, and now, or sorry, all the risk last week was at this low price. Now it's at this high price. And that's simply just a coincidence. I wouldn't say that there's too much to note from that, except for if anyone is still managing risk at those levels, we might see some difficulty reclaiming that price. Our downside level this week is 40.57 minus 110. So just kind of estimating between these two numbers, that brings us to about 39.47 for the week. Now, first things first, that's fairly low in regards to S&P pricing. Secondly, it brings us into some areas of interest that the market has already rallied from. And this is kind of the theme that we'll talk about today in regards to our gap down open this morning, along with the potential that this could literally be a one-day event. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what needs to be seen in regards to make that claim and to confirm it. And then ultimately, what do we do with that information? So for those prices, obviously mark those down. I'll have those for tomorrow on the chart. And let's take a look at our S&Ps. Now, very notable here that there was elevated risk in the market last week. We saw the 200 period moving average on the daily reject. That was our technical rejection. We had our overall trend line resistance also reject at the exact same moment. Very notable, just having the confluence of technicals come together. If the market were to go higher, that is something that we can sort of look to different setups, but the risk was elevated at this point in time, especially since we were coming off of a pretty deep low. Market got overextended. It's notable to talk about pullbacks or simply some additional consolidation before continuing. It's also notable to talk about how far have we pulled back. And this is kind of what we were starting to look at as we saw this rejection. Markets have pulled back about 38.2% from Friday's close. And if we're looking at today's open, we're looking at probably about 40%, probably a little bit more, given that we're starting at about 400 S&P. Now, what's notable about this is most Fibonacci traders will say that depending on the structure and the retracement size, if a market is able to pull back anywhere between 25 to 38% from low to high, the potential of a bull flag, or in the case of a downtrend, a bear flag, is still on the table. You're usually looking for flagging patterns or pennants, some sort of more consolidative structure to indicate that the market is still holding a thesis and a trend, and really you're just seeing the eventuality of a market cycle, which is the pullback or the consolidation. Because we've broken 38.2, I would argue that most Fib traders are going to say that this is no longer a good candidate for a bull flag. The market has pulled back too much. We're also seeing, in this case, a new downtrend. And as I kind of leave our normal technical levels on, we'll start to say, well, this is now a confirmed downtrend with a very clear resistance level. It's anchored to the top end of all of our selling candles in this current structure. We've also lost the uptrend. So it's very notable that we've lost this key level. You could argue that this is roughly established and set in June, or you could just say it's the swing low that brought us to the last swing high. So it's the end of that trend, the beginning of a new one. The question is, how low does this thing have to go? And I think here you're going to find multiple answers depending on your bias in the market. You're also going to find multiple answers based on what happens by time and by price. So really we need more information, but essentially, what are some ways we can look at this market and anticipate the next move? So first things first, let's talk about where the uptrend started. Arguably, once again, things are kind of arguable depending on your bias here. This down here was not an uptrend. It was volatility, market was holding a low, but there really wasn't a move to the upside. The market was more consolidative and lots of downside risk was still evident here. The market was very bearish in sentiment. The real uptrend started when we broke out of this high. And this area becomes important for future setups, future trade, and really just a defendable spot in the S&P if we ever were to come back and test this area. So these prices, roughly slightly under 390, become our first zone of contention. You could also take a look at the first sell swing, or I'll say buy swing, the first high of that buy swing. This area is also relatively important because it's where breakout bulls started positioning. They saw the move outside of swing highs. They saw the back test, and whether they bought anywhere in this area or whether they bought this first breakout candle, those areas are going to become zones for new bull participants and possibly existing ones to defend what they've already established. Hence why technicals tend to work. We have participants simply behaving in a way that they were showcasing previously, and we're going to look for those. We're going to look for those signals along with potentially some certain elements coming off of the market to basically confirm that information. So first things first, are we at those levels? Well, if you look at our gap down, we are testing the very tippy top end of this buy swing. And as we look at our gap down this morning, we can see just how important that's been for our pre-market trade so far. So are we at some supportive area? The answer is yes. It was a previous uptrend. It had a swing high. The market has come into this area and we're testing it. Very notable, simple if-then scenarios. The question is, would you buy it? And I think for an intraday trader, we want to be probably, I would say, allowing for this area to confirm. We want to respect it for now. And we also want to just understand it's a psychological price. The market has had a strong rally and has pulled back about 50% into a psychological price. So of course, there's going to be some definition of range. There's going to be some low and high trading here. And it's unlikely that we'll see another sell swing similar to Friday immediately. Our short-term trade is going to be in these levels. We're also going to be looking at things like volume profile. And while the market has moved away from that key level, VPOC, our previous June supports, all of these balance ranges that we keep discussing, we are a bit oversold. And the momentum is on the bear side, but getting oversold means some of these counter rallies can have a lot of energy behind them. There can be strength in the counter rally. It's also a bit notable that the market has already somewhat filled up this gap. Now, this doesn't mean it's bullish or anything. It means that that gap fill trade is already pretty much over. But what's interesting about it is we've cleared this area of bearish momentum immediately. And this becomes a breakout area. If the market were to see something like a pre-market high breakout, that's going to be a notable trade. And it's going to have the type of energy that we want to pay attention to because if we can clear it with some conviction, our target remains the same. Really, the S&P's high and low targeting right now is fairly centered around VPOC. And while that looks pretty far away at the moment, remember the S&P sold from 420 to 405 on Friday's session. Seeing a counter rally of just half of that move would bring us to about 410, given that we're coming off of 400. So it's not out of the question to think about support, breakout level, something around our gap fill area, and the idea that the market may simply look for low to high trading in regards to a return to value. This is where the most S&P value has been, not only on the hourly, not only on past 6 months, but I'm talking about pretty much the whole year. Well, past 6 months, whole year, pretty close. So notable VPOC, notable support area, and obviously we're looking at counter moves to the bearish momentum that showed itself on Friday with our catalyst. Now, let's talk about this catalyst just a little bit. I discussed it briefly in the chat room. We saw on Friday the market break expected move. We had a lot of gamma risk, providing hedging downside. Volatility expanded. What was actually said that sparked this sell-off? We saw that the Federal Chair, Jerome Powell, discussed the idea that the Fed was going to use all available tools at full force to combat current inflation. We were hearing things like a softening labor market, things that are typically heading into a more contractionary or recessionary type cycle. And market seems to be headed in this area, not only our stock or just overall trading market, but I'm talking about economic climate as well. There will be pain was kind of the short end quote. Thank you, Courtney, for that. The idea that before we see relief, we're likely to see more pain. So we have a long road ahead of us. Does that mean that the S&P has to form a new low? Somewhat 50-50 at this point. The reason being is we saw things that are notable bullish activity or notable bullish signals start to come back in. The Fed fund rate has adjusted. Last week, we were looking at about a 50-50% that we were going to see anywhere from our 50 basis point rate hike to a 75 point. As long as the market had that potential that we were going to see a softening or a lowering of our rate hike cycle, just for one meeting, that alone was a very bullish signal for the market, sparked some of this rally that we've been seeing. On Friday, those probabilities have changed. We're looking more now at about a 2/3 probability that we're going to see 75 points on our September meeting. Now, there's still plenty of time till September 21st, so still plenty of time for this percentage to change, but you can understand now that because of that flip, the S&P responded bearishly. And of course, that risk in the market perpetuated as we headed lower and lower. We also saw things like volatility. So is the market fearful right now? Let's take off these volume profile studies. Is the market fearful right now? I would say that we're coming off of lows. We're definitely seeing a bullish move here. Have we inverted? Has the volatility future product inverted? Put this on our trade tab. Comparing our active contract to our October, so September to October, the answer is no. We have flattened out a bit. This used to be about a $1.5 to $2 spread between September and October. This has come in. So it's definitely showing a bit more interest in raising volatility futures, which will inherently raise the VIX. It'll also showcase a little bit more of a negative sentiment or somewhat bearish sentiment. And if this ever goes into backwardation, where the September contracts are priced higher than our October contracts, then yes, we're very likely to see some pretty volatile trade in the market. Doesn't mean it's all out bearish, just means that the trade's going to be a bit wild. We'll see massive up days followed by gap down opens into sell-off days, the type of trading that becomes a bit confusing for new traders and also really doesn't have a trend. So it becomes a bit harder to anticipate moves, manage risk, and ultimately you're somewhat fighting a choppy behaving market. We have not seen that yet, but it's possibly coming. We're kind of leaning more towards that. So the scales are shifting back into a bearish tone. We've got a downtrend on our favor and we're at support. So the question is, what's it going to take to flip this? I would argue that we'll need to see the market stabilize. We'll need to see this risk of volatility come off or just no longer bid itself higher. We'll need to see things like our risk on behavior in the market start to return. Where's our corporate debt looking? Well, we're coming back into our range support. So if this was a breakout area before, what does a back test look like? What does a retest from the highs, in this case, a true back test, really look like? Are they buying it? Or are we about to collapse back down to some of the lowest readings we've gotten in a long time since COVID? You know, this is pure just risk on, risk off kind of signaling. And obviously, similar to the S&P, similar buy and sell swing. Large move up, counter move back. How much of this price activity are we going to give up? And are we going to find support where we found momentum before? This is the key to, I think, whether or not we're going to see fresh lows in the S&P, or are we just simply coming into an area of interest, you know, an area where previous momentum started. Another thing to look at is just your 10-year interest rate. Very notable for tech. We do not want to see the 10-year crest above 3%, much higher than it currently has. These levels of inflection are important. I've kind of marked highs and lows. The high here is technically one with the highest closure on the daily. It's not an absolute high. But the last thing that technology wants to see is anything like this. We don't want to see risk in rates. And if we do, tech is going to have some trouble. Growth is going to have some trouble. We're going to see another cycle and possibly some more fear returning into our strong sectors, the ones that carry the market forward. And what's so interesting here is you look at this and you're like, well, we've had such a great recovery that there must be some bulls looking to buy this dip. The question is where? Where are they going to show their face? And where can I, as a technical or possibly just a risk-averse bull, step in? If I'm bearish, where do I begin getting out? Where are my targets on this move? And ultimately, am I really going for fresh lows, or is the market going to give me something probably about halfway down? These are some questions that are going to take time. I'm not saying I have answers to these questions, but I am prepared. And I think all of us should be doing something similar. Where will the market start to find its footing, and where is it a problem if it doesn't? Financials, we talked about our weekly bounce. Pull this out. 200 period, we're pulling back in. Large move to the upside, move to the downside. Where can we anticipate new bulls? Where can we expect bears to stop their positioning and basically get out? XLV, You know, a lot of things took this downside. I'm not saying that any chart looks bullish right now. Every single sector on Friday sold. It was a fully pegged, 100% correlated market to the downside. You will not find a bull in the S&P 100 except for ConocoPhillips, which barely closed green from the previous session. That's how bearish Friday was. The thing to look for now is what's next. Where, well, I keep saying where, but where will the market find its footing? I think to kind of round this out, it's Monday. So allow the market to maybe find new value. What made last week a bit more clear is the S&P found its value on Monday, and we traded around it for a couple of sessions. We traded around expected move lows. This was an area of risk, and a lot of our just intraday trading occurred near that VPOC. Because we're moving away from it, market has to show us where this new value lives. Is it at 400? Is it a little bit lower? Have we already seen the oversold back into our main VPOC, or is there something in between? Those questions I think today will kind of answer. But you can bet that there's going to be some back and forth trade around the 50 period, NASDAQ or SPY, doesn't really matter. You can bet that there's going to be some interest at these breakout levels, about 300 NASDAQ, if you're looking maybe for tech or some sort of indication of stronger support. You might want to be looking at NASDAQ 300. And really, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sell your bearish positions? Are you going to look bullish? Are you going to start going neutral? Volatility is a bit elevated, so be careful selling premium right now, especially with last week's breach. Also be thinking about how to take advantage of this, because when the market's moving, you actually want to be a debit buyer. You want to be someone who's taking advantage of speed. And last week showcased a lot of speed. So if we get anything like that on a bounce, a breakout, or just this back and forth trading that we might encounter again, be aware that short term, you might be better off looking as a buyer of option premium at least. So some notes for the week, some levels to keep on mind. And remember, we're only looking at about a 50% retracement right now. And this is just from our lows back in June. The market has a chance here to stabilize. We can find equilibrium. We can find new value. Not exactly sure how it's going to look, but watch out for those back tests and be very aware that in this kind of climate, the one who's managing their risk and the one who's taking off profitable trades at targets is the one who's going to be ahead. This is a trader's market. Investing can come later. You know, things will become on discount as time goes on. This is for getting in, getting out, taking money off the table, hedging, looking for risk when risk shows itself, and ultimately taking advantage when the setup is there. So with all that said, my name is Jared. This is Engineering the Market. Trade safe today. Stay tuned for PreMarket Prep.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a pre-market prep. I hope everyone is having an amazing morning. Hopefully, you guys had an incredible weekend. Good morning, Norm. How are you today?
Good morning, brother. I'm doing well. How are you? How was your weekend?
Doing good. Had a great weekend. Since I know family's all from Florida as well. Had
Mm,
my two girls' birthday parties this weekend, and yeah, a lot of
that's
fun,
awesome.
man. Tired, but a lot of fun. So, um, guys, over on YouTube, hit a thumbs up over for Jared, engineering the markets every morning, taking us through what happened last week, some of the stuff to kind of expect for this week, and some potential market reactions. And I mean, what a bloodbath it was yesterday. So it was just insane. And we'll see what it does today. Definitely going to be an interesting week to get started. Um, Gappers list this morning. Got a couple of things in the red. Obviously, a lot of stuff down again today because the market is slightly down. It was down about 1% or so, recovering a little bit from the lows of the pre-market at the moment. But again, this gappers list, you can see here a bunch of names in the red this morning, and a couple of things in the green. Not a whole lot there, so we'll see what's developing there. Before we get to that, let's jump over to our market post. And Norm, what do we have coming up for today and this week?
And before we even get to that, be sure to give a
Yeah.
thumbs up to Jared over on YouTube. Subscribe, like. Thank you very much. All right. We don't have any data out today, but I will say, we spoke all week we spoke all week about what was going to transpire on Friday with Powell's speech and the Jackson Hole event. Um, and man, well, as far as a catalyst, it did not disappoint. That is one hell of an ugly candle on the SPY.
Yes, it is.
A hell of a drop. Crazy day. Um, so we'll see. I can't imagine. Jared went over it talking about every sector down, almost everything in the S&P 100. I think one out of 100 tickers was negative, and that one was barely green. So just widespread pessimism, bearishness, a concern over what the Fed's doing, what's going on in the economy. It's going to be an interesting week. We'll see how it goes. These are typically lighter. This is a lighter volume time of the year for trading activity and for the markets. And because of that, because there's a little bit less liquidity, it's easier for things to move further faster and be more volatile. Just like when we're looking at individual tickers and you see that there's not a lot of volume on that ticker, or that there's not a lot of interested parties on the bid and ask to trade that with a bunch of liquidity. A little bit, somewhat similar to what happens in August, the end of the summer, as we are in lower liquidity for the market overall and how it can move. So the moves can be exaggerated. Let's see what this week has in store.
Yeah, absolutely. There will definitely be no lack of entertainment and action, I think, this week. Um,
Yes, Mad Max. Carlos said yesterday. He meant Friday.
yeah, meant Friday. Yeah, meant Friday. Everything's all meshed in together, right? But yes, Friday, last trading day, Friday. All right, guys. Let's get rid of our list here. Control A, Control X, and we're gonna make this look like this here. Now let's take a look at our list. PDD leading the way here, gapping up a nice. Hold on a second. Let's link our trade ideas. Put the daily on here so we get fired up for this week. Here we go. So up 10.4, 4.7 million shares traded. Had a again nasty drop yesterday, like not yesterday, Friday, like many stocks did, and again recovering this morning. Basically gained all its loss from Friday. So very interesting here, and we're right at the top of this, and then we even went higher. What's the overall news on this storm? This seems to be
The
pretty hot
earnings.
earnings on this one. So
Yes.
PDD guys, definitely in play. It's not one of my favorites, but this type of action is worth taking a look at. So PDD on deck this morning. Great volume today. And yeah, definitely let's put it on here. For the most part, if you look at the daily, they don't get great volume, but today they're probably about half of the volume they get on the daily already in the pre-market alone. So today's a whole different type of story. Let's look at BBBY. And what's going on here? We're up 8.3, 3.7. It's okay. I mean, the moves are not as big as they were, back when we were taking off here. You can see the daily, they're a little bit more muted than they were before here. Volume is a lot less, still great, but a lot less compared to when you had this ramp here. I think it's a good possible. There could be some opportunities, and you always know these things can become very explosive. Just be very careful on this one. I don't think the moves are going to be like they were here, but just be mindful of your share size on this thing. The short interest, I think this is still not correct. I think this could be a lot less. We'll have to see. STBX, they were on our list, I think, on Friday as well, right? STBX, I remember seeing these guys. Yes, the recent IPO. I just don't see how this is tradable. I don't see nothing happening here that's worth watching this right now. And the day looks horrible. It looks like it has not found a way to get going here. Every day is in the red. So yeah, so nothing I like to see here this morning. Indo, INDO. They are up 6.7, 240,000. Now, this one's sitting on the American Stock Exchange, which I'm not a big fan of. The last couple of days, we've seen some action. We've been talking about this here. So, pre-market doesn't look great today. So, no reason for me to add it on our pre-market list. So, yeah, I'm going to move on from this one. STBX, we looked at MT, I believe is a foreign ticker.
Yeah, it's Luxembourg steel. You
Yeah.
don't want any part of that.
No, we don't want no part of this, guys. Doesn't trade well. Today they're seeing a little bit of action here, 4.2, but look at the volume. It's just very, very light. That's typically what they end up doing. Heading towards the gap down list, which is a little bit longer this morning. We have SIGA down at 4.6, was even lower down at 1520, recovering a little bit from the lows here. Could be just overall market movement. But the volume is extremely light though, so not liking that at the moment. Heading down over to Ape. What is Ape up to? Ape is down 5.2. Again, nothing significant to see here. We got to dig a little bit on this gap down list because again, with the market down the way it is today and the way it's been since last week, it's going to cause some things that are not really in play to show up on this list. So we're going to have to get a little picky. This one, Nerve here, they are down 4.2, 654. No shares for sure. This is Minerva Neurosciences. And they just got going last week. Last week they got going. They had a little action, beginning of August. And I just don't know about this one being a great trader. But again, I'm not sure. We'll come back to it. Let's see. It's very active though. What's the news on this Gnome? Is this something significant? It's been active for a couple of days.
Not in the last week actually. The news is about a week old, and I think it's just
Yeah.
still moving on that. It's a lower float. There's some schizophrenia. It's a biotech
Yeah. Actually,
schizophrenia treatment or drug of some sort. They announced, I believe, on the 23rd. So kind of stale at this point. I think it's just kind of bouncing around still on that.
Okay. Careful, guys. Look at the volume. One day we go 82. Next day we drop to whatever this is. Then we go back up almost to 80 again. I mean, it's just funky trading happening here. So just be mindful of that. No shares for sure on this thing. I personally rather watch something else. So I have it here on my risky pile. I don't know if it's a low float. Let's check. It is a low float, 4.5. So again, just be very careful with this. Let's take a look at Mara today. We have Mara. I saw Coin. I didn't see Riot in here, but we have Mara and Coin, and Riot is also in here as well. Mara is down 3.5. Volume is a little bit lighter at the moment. Coin, for the most part, again, even less volume. They're all down today, but I don't see great volume on these ones to keep on deck. Maybe Mara as a possible in case there's anything there. I don't know if they have their own catalyst today or anything that's moving the overall Bitcoin sector here, but
crypto getting shellacked after Friday as well.
Yeah, right.
Bitcoin's below 20 again.
Yeah, so we'll keep that action there on Mara and see if that means anything. A-Firm was another one that dropped pretty significant on Friday, like many things, of course. They're down 3.3 again, not on their own news. They had earnings last week, I believe, right? Earnings last week, they got crushed. I remember that. And then they had the sell-off, right? You had the crazy sell-off happening here. So could be interesting. I mean, they got kind of double hit twice here on Friday, but very light on volume right now. So is there anything else that looks good here? UPST, no. Again, everything's just kind of moving with the market. A Blue Apron, no. Net, no. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything, guys. That looks great. This can change. It is a Monday. Things will get going. We'll find something to watch, but I'll stop here and I'll hand it over to you guys. See what you guys have on your end. Norm, anything you like today?
Negative, man. It's a little sluggish. It's a little sluggish right now. I'm a little concerned this week. We're going into the unofficial end of summer holiday weekend. I'm a little concerned. It might be a little slow this week. It might be a good week to go to Burning Man.
Yes, yes. Speaking of, our fearless leader will be doing just that. So, a shout. Is he traveling today or tomorrow? When does it
No,
start?
he's around today, and then he's leaving either late tonight or tomorrow morning.
Very nice, very nice. All right, guys, let's take a look at the chat. See what you guys like this morning. Again, today might be a day where we have to just kind of sit and wait and look for scammers.
You almost made me spit out my drink.
I'm glad I wasn't taking a sip of coffee when this was
God,
posted
please
here
no.
in our chat.
Please no.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see, guys. It should be exciting. All right, let's go to Tesla. Jason W. Tesla this morning. See what we have going on there. Might not be doing a whole lot, but it's a good one that can move the market.
I'm concerned Silver Fox had that to be able to post it as quickly as he did.
He had that really fast. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's like he had a hotkey for that.
He had that thing on cue there. Here is a Tesla, guys. Again, just moving with the overall market. This is a good one, right? Tesla, and it's probably one of those days we can look at Tesla. We can look at probably Apple as well, right? Because the Qs also got hit on Friday. The entire market did, and Apple's a good taker to kind of see what the overall market is doing. So that's a good one. You have AMD and Nvidia. Again, I'm putting usual suspects here because I think a lot of you guys are probably going to throw some of these out. Look at Nvidia on Friday there. And we'll see where it goes. But again, these guys, Tesla, Apple, AMD, Nvidia, they're all doing whatever the overall market is. There's no special news to these guys right now. So Fabio, yeah, I see Apple is sitting on the 9 EMA on the weekly, but again, it's just overall market stuff right now, right? So we'll see what it does. All right, so Nvidia is good. Ross is giving us AXSM. AXSM. No, I've seen this one before. I don't like the way this thing trades, even when it does get volume, right? Even when you have a day like this, you just got to be very careful. But if you look at the daily, the fun is over here. The volume has dried up quite a bit, and you're trading. What is this? This is like less than. You did 1.8, 1.7 on Friday, right? You did 2.9 on Thursday. So the fun on this might be over. That type of volume moving between 70 and 65, 65, 66, that's just not great for me, right? So be careful on this thing. I think it could be a little bit choppy, a little bit thin on volume, which I do not like. Oxy had a couple of days where it was just madness here, right? We saw that 2 weeks back. Right now, at the moment, they are pretty much flat. They can get going. Their pre-market action is usually doesn't mean much at times. We saw days here where, especially here, where the pre-market was very active, but you can't put a lot away in the pre-market. Got to wait for the market open, but I don't see anything great right now. The daily looks good. I see what you're looking at. The daily here looks really nice. We can see where that goes. But I think all eyes today, guys, are going to be on the Qs and the SPY, right? What are we doing there? And I won't be surprised if it's a choppy, quiet day after such a bloodbath on Friday. But we'll see. Is there another leg down, right? I think if there's another leg down, I think you will get a lot more movement, right? Because the fear factor. But we'll see. We don't know what's going to happen. ISO this morning. No. This is ISO Plexi. No, nothing good about this one, Jeff. Who gave me? Not Jeff. Yeah, Jeff, you gave me this. Yeah, no. This is not looking great here. Let's see what else we have here. No. Okay, good. We're covered there. And it's okay, guys. Not gonna be a long list today. Daryl, let's look over at YouTube. OLB. Never heard of this. What is this? The OLB group. Oh, I think we might have seen this once before. That name sounds familiar. Guys, more of a penny stock. We really don't trade this. If you do trade this is active, Daryl. This is definitely in play. I mean, you got 7.5 million shares traded. You're up almost 40%. Big day on Friday, continuing off of that momentum. I don't even know what the news is. And again, for me personally, it's just not a ticker I would be touching, right? Just does not fit my trade book and the criteria that I look for in tickers. So, but definitely in play. I agree. I cannot disagree with you there. Futu, nice relative volume. Really? What we got going on Futu? 177. Are you saying that they barely trade anything?
Fine.
Yeah, no, this is no good today. Thoughts on Oxy still holding near all-time highs from Thursday? Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to get action on it. We're going to get action on it. And it's not all-time highs, I believe, right? Is it all-time highs? I think it's like 52-week high, but they were higher before. I think we went back on this one. way back, and we found out it's not the all-time high. Let me just make sure I'm not mistaken. Oh no, yeah, okay, I'm talking about the right ticker. So here it is, not the all-time high, but I agree. It's that was 2018. So yes, we're at a good level now. I think you'll get some action. I just don't know if it's going to be today. A lot depends on the SPY. Although if you look at Oxy, right, you had a huge sell-off on Friday. They barely moved. That's a good sign. It's a good sign. All right. Yeah, you know what? We'll put Oxy. Oxy could be a good possible, actually. Oxy on deck. APA, BBBY, and SABR, and then we'll go over to announcements. So let's look at that. APA. Let's see. Jeff is giving us APA this morning. This is Jeff. You're 0 for 2, man. Help me help you. Help me help you. What we have here came up on pivot buy on Friday, and daily looks dissimilar to many others. Yes, the daily does look good, but again, just the volume on this thing, I just don't know. I don't know about this one, and I don't think I ever traded APA. I think it doesn't trade very well. I got a couple of pops here. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a fan, Jeff, of this one. All right, let's take a look at Mike. You're giving us SABR. Sounds foreign. No volume here. 4 shares traded. So Mike, not sure why you brought this up. What do you see on this that you like? Just curious, but I don't like it. BBBY we have on deck. That's good. Netflix, Netflix, and we'll call it here. Netflix, no, not much going on. Pretty quiet right now. Again, daily. Oh, daily looks nice. Yeah, I like the daily. Possible drop there if you can get it. If we can get going towards the downside, good possible for now. Put Netflix right on here. All right, excellent, guys. We'll stop here. Let's go ahead and go over to announcements. Sorry, Will Scanner said. Got you. I see what you said.
Phil,
Gotcha.
Phil, where's your list, Phil?
Yeah, where's Phil? Let's get Phil.
He's
Phil
right
on the
there. He
line.
said his list is always ready for days like today. Just say the word. Let's have it. That was awesome.
I missed it. Where did he say that? I missed it. I can't see it here.
It's over on YouTube.
Oh, he's on YouTube, Phil. There it is. There it is. All right, perfect, guys. All right, let's go over to announcements, guys. Over at bearboottraders.com. Hit webinars and walk you through the week.
Exactly. Anytime you want to see this, you can go to bearbulltraders.com/webinars or just navigate there through the nav bar at the top of the site. Every Monday, onboarding and technology, 8 p.m. Eastern. My man Carlos leads that session. It's open to all membership categories, even trial members. Then on Tuesdays, we focus on strategy. Tomorrow, we've got Mike at 8 p.m. talking about finding the right strategy for you. And then John will be talking about the strategy of profit taking, when, where, how, all that. Psychology on Wednesdays. We've got Mike. He's going to be talking about overcoming fear this week at 8 p.m. Eastern. And then next week, part 2 of the trading trance from Dr. Kenneth Reed. That'll be at 8 p.m. as well. Thursdays for mentorship, John at 11 a.m., Ed at 4 p.m., and Thor at 8 p.m. StockTradingSimulator.com, our free web-based replay simulator. You can reach it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to hone your trading skills. Don't forget about that free tool at StockTradingSimulator.com. And speaking of trial memberships, if you'd like to give BBT a shot, you haven't been in the chat room, you can do so at a discount. Just go to bearbulltraders.com. On the homepage, you can scroll down about halfway. You'll see the membership category table. Click on that intro membership. Enter the promo code PreMarket24 when you check out. It'll get you a discount. It is 1 week. It is a one-time payment. It does not recur. And if you'd like to become an elite member and gain all of access to all the webinars that we do, including the recordings of the ones in the past, use the promo code READ50 to get half off the elite annual and gain access to that. And a free one-on-one coaching session with Dr. Kenneth Reed. How can I forget?
All right. Thank you, Norm. All right, guys, let's get to it. We have a bit of a very quiet list this morning. The majority of the stuff, Tesla, Apple, AMD, and Nvidia. Again, just kind of waiting to see what happens with the overall market. Really, there's just not a whole lot going on, which is expected already. But we're definitely seeing it today, especially after yesterday's Friday. I keep saying yesterday, Friday's action. Let's get some levels in here, guys, and then we can look at what else populates into our gappers list, especially anything gapping up that might be doing something different than the overall market. Like today, for example, if you look at PDD, it's not a ticker that I like, but this one it's definitely got its own thing going on this morning. So there should be a lot of eyes on it because it's sticking out of the group here. that is not doing a whole lot. Everything on the gap down list this morning, and actually this is not in order here. Let's do this. Or is it? Oh yeah, it is. Everything on here is not really doing a lot. It's a lot of stuff on there, but it's not looking great. So PDD guys, let's get levels in here. We are looking at our high of our pre-market over at 67. Excuse me, 67.40. So we'll slam a level right there, 67.44, 45 to be exact. Heading over to the left, it's an area where we saw a little bit of resistance in the past on this date here. The actual high of this day, though, is going to be a little bit more. It's going to be over at 68.75. So we're marking that down as well. But you see the 67.44, which is your high of your pre-market, getting a rejection off of that there. Now towards the bottom, 65.91, a good area to have below the price section. In the pre-market, you're seeing a little bit of flirting happening with that 65.91. Not a whole lot, but you're seeing some of it there. And then below that, guys, you do have the highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. I do like this area here in the pre-market as well, right? You got a little bit of resistance. You got some support happening there. Then the takeoff, so that's nice. 62.63 worth marking down there. And if you look at the daily, it's a reason why that's happening there. You can see across the board that you do have some highs and lows on the daily, bouncing off of that as well. So pretty good stuff happening there. Let's head over to Tesla. Tesla this morning, again, down 1.6. Tons of volume, 1 million shares traded. You got high volume on all of these too. Look at Apple, 900,000, AMD, 412, a little bit on the lower side. Nvidia, 609. It's actually pretty good volume for this pre-market. So some good volumes on our usual suspects. Let's head down over to Tesla and get some levels done in here. Let's get into our, there we go, remove some stuff. Towards the top, guys, you got plenty. And look at this daily action you're getting here on Tesla. Looks real nice. Very clear range that it is kind of stuck in or been trading within right here. Now, we're slightly below that. Last time we were there was about 3 weeks ago. And look at the nice little pop we got back to the top of the range. Let's see what it does today. The low of the pre-market is going to be down at 280. But I do like this area here because we held this much better, 280.55. Again, just a couple of cents over. You can see how well we held that there. So that can actually be more important than this one little wick here sitting at 280. So just mark them both if you like. Again, I think this is going to be a slightly more important. Towards the bottom, we do have 277, 272.77. And then below that, we do have 262.77. So again, a couple of levels there towards the bottom, looking pretty good on the daily, very clean, very clear. And then towards the top, you got your previous day close, highs and lows for the last 2 trading days. Doing a pretty good job there, just kind of covering that. The one level I don't see it being marked here by your highs and lows is this one here over at 296.29. And I do see many days, again, slamming against that. So you might want to put a level there. I think it'll be a good area to have in case you do decide to go into green territory and run a little bit here. Heading down over to Apple. Apple, again, seeing a lot of activity with the overall market, what's going on there. I'm going to mark down 161.17 again, which has got a lot of action this morning at that price target. Your low is going to be all the way actually down here at 160, but I think this should be important to mark this down as well, this 161.17. So that's on there. Below that, guys, we are at an area where we had a gap up right here. So we had that gap up, we created this base, and from there, actually that's where we're sitting at right now. And someone mentioned we're also at the 9 EMA or SMA on the weekly chart as well. So again, a lot of support happening here. Apple doesn't want to be down here. It's down here because the overall market is down here. So any strength in the overall market, Apple, Nvidia, AMD, these stocks that have been bouncing pretty nicely. As you can see, Apple here, look at the run we had since July. It's just insane, right? 130 to 175, just massive. So any strength in here, this thing is going to react to whatever the overall market, the Qs is doing today. So just be on the lookout. That's where my eyes are going to be. What is the SPY going to do today? Are we going to go for another leg down? Maybe not as severe, or are we going to try to recover a little bit? Maybe half of this, like Jared was talking about. It can really go both ways here. 162.05, high of the pre-market, above that previous day close, and highs and lows of the last 2 trading days are doing a pretty good job. I think the losing this pre-market low here could be an area where you're going to have a better opportunity for it to run with less resistance. AMD this morning, guys, let's get rid of some levels towards the top because our highest and lows for the last 2 trading days are doing a pretty good job of the top side there. They might be missing here. They're not covering this level right over here around 95.37. So I'm going to slam a level there. Now towards the bottom low of the pre-market, we're sitting at 89.12. So that's a good level there. And then below that, guys, we're sitting at 84.92. And I think we're pretty much set. Besides this one, we should mark down this one as well, 87.16. So plenty of stuff happening here. High of your pre-market is over at 90.31. But outside of that, guys, I think you're pretty much set on AMD as far as levels. Let's head down over to Nvidia. Again, Nvidia, big drop on Friday, like many things. Let's go ahead and remove that. Love the pre-market, 159.14. They got good volume this morning, 632,000 already. High of the pre-market, pretty much with the previous day close. High from Friday. I right on here. So again, I don't think you need to add anything else. Just leave that the way it is. And then towards the bottom, guys, if we were to drop, we got a couple of really nice levels off this daily. 154. Again, I don't think we'll drop this much. 150.18. And we also have 144.89. Again, we're ready. We're ready for it. Whatever happens, we're ready to rock and roll here. Above that, again, previous day close. Highs and lows for the last two trading days, Thursday, Friday. Up here, got you covered when it comes to Nvidia. So again, pretty straightforward list. Look at our gappers list, see if anything's coming up that we should take a look at. The gap up list has stayed the same. Nothing new has appeared here. And our gap down list is pretty much the same as well. It might be longer now because as stocks start to trade a little bit more volume, they will start to populate here. But again, I don't think any of these are really in play. They're just moving with the overall market. There's nothing here that sticks out that looks better than what we have on deck at the moment. So but throw something out there. If you see something that looks good, throw it out there. We'll definitely take a look on it. Take a look at it. Yeah, 200 is a very important level. So the 200 on the daily is a big support level, and we see that play out quite a bit. Guys, anything you guys have? Any tickers that we should look at? Anything that that is on your list that is not on mine that you really like? Throw it out there. We'll take a look at it. We have any questions? We have plenty of time on a day like today where there's just not a whole lot going on, as you can see. We got time for room for questions that we can hopefully answer. Thor's list, PDD, Microsoft Spy, and the Qs. That is his list. So he's got ready to rock and roll very early this morning. And as you can see, PDD is probably the only one that it's in play on its own that looks good. Is PDD, and it looks really good because we're now getting above this 64 here. Is exactly what we want. We don't want it coming back down here into this area. We want to, for it to continue to break new highs, hopefully, or to hang out here and give us an opportunity to take it back to the south side. But we don't want to come back down here to where it opened up, because it just does nothing, right? Then it just eliminates this gap up and you're just kind of flat. So we want this to be here, hanging out at 67, and hopefully give us an opportunity to play one way or the other. Sorry, Carlos, did you look at Twitter? Not a ton of volume, but didn't drop neither. Okay, so let's take a look at Twitter this morning, or either to be correct there. Twitter, yeah, not a big drop on Friday. They didn't really react, and part of it because it had a very nice reaction already that same week here with the gap down. Twitter doesn't care about the market. Twitter only cares about what Elon Musk tweets. So that's what Twitter cares about. They don't care what anything is happening anywhere. They just want to know, what's happening with Elon. Well, how does he feel this morning? That's all Twitter cares about. So yeah, not a whole lot going on. Very light volume. And I think you just got to wait for, if you want to see the stock move, you just got to wait for news. You have to wait for news. I just think they don't have anything going on besides, when Elon is involved in something. So yeah, so just gotta wait on this. Could be a good one to just look for in the scanners. We know the ticker Twitter already. So if you're looking at your scanners chip and this thing starts going, there could be something happening there worth taking a look. And usually my best scanner is usually you guys in the chat. You guys would start throwing something out. Hey, this is moving, and I'll look over and we can identify something quickly. Because I'm only looking at the turbo breakup and turbo breakdown for the most part. But some of you guys are looking at other scanners, which helps because then you can call something out that looks good. What else? Baba Dream Chaser. Let's take a look at Baba this morning. Let's see what we got going on here on Baba. So let me BABA. All right, what's going on, BABA? No, not today. And the only reason is because you guys know how I like this stock, gapping up or down. beautiful gap up on Friday, amazing sell-off. And you know Baba loves to sell off. And I'm shocked. Did I have some on my list? I didn't trade Baba. I traded A-Firm, which was very, very nice as well. But this would have been good. So they're right at the previous day close line, which is typically not an area that I like them to be in if I'm going to play them one way or the other. But the volume it looks decent, starting to heat up a little bit there. Might be a good secondary, man. Might be a good secondary. I know there's one thing here that I'm just not liking. It's just that we're not gapping up or down right now. We're right at the previous day close. So that's the only thing that I don't like about it this morning. Let's see. But again, it's just all eyes on the market. I know the Chinese tickers, you guys remember last week, they all took off. They were all gapping up pretty nice. Obviously they had to sell off on Friday, but last week they were all doing very well. I think it might have started Wednesday, right? Wednesday or Thursday. If you look at NEO, you look at all these other Chinese tickers, they were all doing very nice. And Baba was one of them that did very well. And I remember telling you guys, if you guys remember, on the pre-market, we talked about, hey, this thing is gapping up. But today, we usually like to gap up in the sell-off. But today we don't want to do that because they had a strong catalyst. So, when the catalyst is strong, by doing this long enough, you know what catalysts are like BS. Like, okay, you're gapping up, you're not really going to do anything. This catalyst that they keep going back and forth on, whether delisted, not delisted, the SEC is falling back, that's pressure, not more pressure. It's just this game they got going on. It's really causes these stocks to really move up and down aggressively. So be on the lookout for any news that comes out. But today, I just don't see it. Good possible, maybe if we can get going. Let's look at it says KOLD. Is this an ETF? Yes, an ETF. So it is active and it's a gold ETF, right? If I am not mistaken. Natural gas. Okay. So I never actually traded this ETF. I'll look at some other things like usually I'll look like at Oxy, and that's another one that Jerry has told me to look at too, which I keep forgetting. MRO. I'll look at some of these other energy plays here. I'll look at those, but I have never traded that ETF. But you can. It looks active. I'm not sure what the news is right now. So there's just a whole lot going on around energy, right? So, I'm sorry about energy, yeah. So just take a look at that. And I guess not sure how great that trades. In fact, I don't recall anyone bringing it up in the morning sessions actively trade. No, we have you know what? Brian does trade it a lot, Jason. Brian does trade it a lot. He might not call it out every time. Sometimes they're swing trading, not really a day trading, but he does trade it quite a bit. And I'm sure there's others too that trade this one. I personally haven't day traded this one. Let's take a look at it. Drug has PM volume, but not liking let's take a look at drug. Drug is the one that's been really active, right? Yeah, see, this is getting messy. I mean, it's got the 5.1 million, is up 17%. It's just a messy ticker though. So I'm not going to bother with this. We don't have shares for short, and look what it did on Friday. It was entire short the entire time. The only long opportunity you had was in the pre-market and this right here. And from there, it was just an entire short, right? The entire day. So you already don't have the opportunity to do that. At least with Interactive Brokers, you don't have the short opportunity. Not that I'm recommending that, but I just don't see this being a good one for me. Lots of volume, but I think it's going to get very messy. We're going on to the 7th day of all this madness here, so just be careful on this thing. And what is their flow? Their flow is 7 million. So you need some good action. It's a good low flow. I think good low flows are really good those first couple of days, right? You get a couple of pops the first and second day. It's just going to start getting messy, I think. It's, again, just my thoughts on it. So just be careful if you are going to be trading this one. Uber. So you're giving us Uber. So I'm just going back and forth between chats here, guys. So I'll get to your question. We got plenty of time and little tickers to watch today. So Uber, again, great ticker as far as it getting volume. It gets volume here and there. But man, they don't day trade well unless they have a big catalyst. Do they have that today? I highly doubt it with this move here. Down 1.9, 66,000 shares traded. The only thing that looks good on Uber for me, without knowing if there's any news, is this right here, right? You're possibly getting into this gap up that we have. We had this huge move up here. And now if you lose that, maybe that can create a run. But this stock is just so hard-headed to make good intraday moves. It's just very hard-headed. So great for swing trading if you can get it at a good price. But outside of that, I traded a few times. Lyft as well. Lyft is the same thing. These tickers just do not move well. There's something about them. They don't move well. And even when they're trending in one direction, they tend to do it just very, very ugly. If you know what I mean. I mean ugly. I mean it's the pullbacks are just there's no good movement on the price action. Carlos, can you take a look at Dash? I want to hear from your thoughts. It's low volume PM as usual, like BA, but near the lows of its daily and the weekly range. Yeah, it's a good drop here. It's a nice drop on the daily. So the daily looks amazing. Yeah, I agree with you there. Again, you said it perfectly. It doesn't get volume. So unless you're going to get volume today, it doesn't mean much because this thing can trade very, very thin. The I traded in the past, and I remember the spread not being fun. So you got to be on the lookout for the spread on this one. But I love this daily here. This daily is real nice. If they have any news, I can take them overboard. That'd be great. I don't think they do based on this volume. But yeah, this could be a good one. But I just think that, and if anything, just gotta look at the SPY today. Anything that's gonna tip this overboard is gonna be if the SPY starts dropping again, like not like Friday, but just anywhere near of a drop of that 400. Where are we? 400 on the SPY or 405 or whatever. Yeah. So anything below this 401 here, all hell is gonna break loose. Go short anything. I mean, it's just the fear is gonna come in heavily if we go below this 401 or 400. You're gonna see a lot of things start to tank and turn the other way. So I think that is what's going to turn Dash or anything else, but especially Dash because man, you're sitting at a good level of support. Now, if this support is really strong, let's say this thing really wants to hold and you don't move below this, then be on the lookout when you see any strength because usually when you see that, if you hold through this, then that means when there's any strength in the market, this is going to be one of the first ones to go up. And we've seen that quite a bit with like tickers like Apple, AMD. We saw it a couple of times in the past where the market kept selling off and AMD was holding at 100, I think it was. It just did not want to drop 100, kept holding, kept holding. And then next thing you know, every time you saw an opportunity with the Qs were strong, AMD would just shoot up because it did not want to be down there, right? So look out for stocks that are gapping up today, like PDD, things that are trying to hold. Though all of these guys, they look horrible. There's nothing here that's trying to hold that looks great. Twitter was one of them that's kind of holding. So be on the lookout for that. What else we have, guys? So excellent. Let's head down. Microsoft has volume but flat. Yeah, we have a lot of that, right? Apple, AMD, Nvidia. These guys are again, they're within 2%. They have volume just because of the sheer drop we had on Friday. So a lot of volume being moved around. But down 1.3 on Apple is pretty much flat. AMD, same thing. We're used to seeing these bigger moves. We're not seeing that today. So Microsoft is no different. I think they're also, yeah, 439. No, that's not Microsoft, that's AMD. Microsoft has 1.1. There's got to be some block trades on Microsoft because if you look at this pre-market action, I don't see where you're trading 1.1. But nevertheless, moving sideways like a lot of other things. But this pre-market activity shows me that there's got to be some block trades happening here, right? Because if you look at Apple, now this looks like more like a 1.1, right? A little bit. So, but yeah, either way, it falls within these three animals: Apple, AMD, Nvidia, Microsoft. You could watch whatever you like best. For example, you see Thor, he's watching Microsoft. You see Peter, he's watching AMD and Apple. So I think they're both very similar. They are going to get the volume, especially if the overall market starts pushing in one way here. All right, let's get to a couple more questions. Then we'll start doing levels around 9 and 2 more minutes. Actually, we did. Did we do levels already? Did we do levels? I think we did. If we did, we are ahead of the game here. Okay, so we can go a little bit longer. Yeah, levels are done, guys. We can review them in just a second. So let's keep going here with some questions. Any advice for novice traders? I still don't feel comfortable in understanding the charts. Well, Demetrius Brown, how long you been trading for? Just curious. Check out the simulator. Yes, it's a great advice. Check out the stock simulator. It's a big help. So you go to stock simulator, and you can do that by going to tradingterminal.com and sign up completely free. Eamon is going to send you some homework that's going to help out. Get familiar with the chart. Screen time and more screen time. Agree as well. You got to have screen time. Very, very important. Yes, you got some pretty good advice there, Demetrius, that you can follow. And one of them is time and see. You got to spend time and see. If you just started, it's not all going to sink in right away. You got to spend time and see. Very, very important. Not liking much PDD and Oxy. Yeah, I agree, Patrick. The other ones on here are just usual suspects. PDD is the only thing that's doing his own thing. Everything else here is usual suspects: Tesla, Apple, AMD, Nvidia, that we expect them to do something if the overall market runs, right? But for the most part, they're pretty quiet right now. Any advice for beginners starting off with a small account? Uh, the best advice is, understand that you are learning, that you are not, trading to make money at that point. You got to take trading in stages, and that stage is probably the hardest one. Because let's say you're trading with like a CMEG offshore account, offshore broker, and you're trading with $5,000, which you will get, $30,000 of buying power, which is a lot. My average positions are less than 30,000 buying power if it's a low price stock. So that is a lot of buying power to start out with. My advice to you is, understand that you're not there to make money. You are there to understand how this works, build a process, build a foundation. Because if you have a small account, you're going to trade small. So when you're trading, when you're risking, $50, $25, $10, $20 to make 40, at the end of the day, when the commissions and everything comes out, your monthly expense, you might be either at break even or a little bit below. And that's okay, because that is your tuition to learn this craft. That's what you have to look at it. If you don't look at it that way, if you get frustrated because you came out net $8 for the month, or net 2.5 on the trade because you partialed out a couple of times, you got hit with the minimum fees of $1. If you take that mentality, this is going to be very difficult, because you're going to want to trade bigger, faster than when you are ready, and you are going to make emotional mistakes. It's just that simple. And it happens all the time, right? Caio, this happens all the time. We see it where people get impatient with the process, with the learning curve, and they want to go all in ASAP and make money, and they end up blowing their account or making big mistakes. So just your mentality, it's got to be in check. You're there to learn the process. If you forget about making money. I know. I'm telling you, you're gonna start trading to make money, but I'm telling you, forget about making money. Just in this stage. Just in this stage. Get money out of your system. Worry about the process. And if you could do that consistently for a long time, then you can get to the next stage where you start focusing on risking a little bit more to make more, right? So it's all by stages. You gotta look at it that way. All right, cool, guys. 9:13. Waiting for a few more moderators to throw out their list. We'll read those out, and then my man Brian is going to come in and take us through the market open here alongside Andrew, and we'll get going. So yeah, guys, we've been pretty good here. Plug, what is Plug up to? Was very active last week. A couple of times, did a couple of things. You had the huge gap up. What was the news? Amazon, right? They were getting together with Amazon. So they had that nice gap up on Thursday and sold off, right? This was more of a sell than news. The pre-market on this, yes, I remember the pre-market was amazing. And then you had this drop here, kind of sell the news thing. Did get a little bit of a bounce. I caught a little bit of this bounce here. Didn't stay long enough though. And then on Friday, it's just everything red. Is there any stock that was green on Friday? I mean, if you survive Friday, that's in the green territory. You did very well. You versus you giving us Piton, and yeah, pretty quiet right now. Pretty quiet. We need to get more information on this one. All right, guys, let's take a look here. Moderators list. Let me bring this over. If you haven't done so on YouTube already, guys, hit that thumbs up. We're sitting at 175 with 230, with 430 people watching. So if we can get to 250, that would be amazing. We'll definitely appreciate your help and you taking the time to, take that mouse over to the bottom left, right, top, wherever your thumbs up button is, and hitting that. It really does help a ton to get the algos going and hopefully grow this channel as we move forward. I'm going to bring over our moderators list here. Let's go over what we have at the moment, and we will call it a day, guys. So over here, let's start with move this down. There we go. No SPACs, no IPOs. As I mentioned earlier, Thor looking at PDD, Microsoft SPY in the queues. We have Peter looking at AMD, Apple, PDD, and the secondary list: Tesla, Oxy, and BBBY. Jared, Apple, Tesla, PDD. Again, see the very similar tickers we're looking at today. We're all looking at the same thing, and the SPY, of course, because it's just not a whole lot going on, and that's okay. We're eyes on the scanners as well, guys. So Jared, I mentioned Apple, Tesla, PDD, secondary list: BABA, BBY, BBBY, FCX, short bias, copper, and then Brian is looking at PDD, BABA, and the Qs and the SPYs and Apple as well. So all that good stuff this morning. We are all set, my friends. Thank you so much for joining the pre-market prep. Appreciate you guys. So more moderators will be coming out with their list as we move forward here. I'll wait for Brian to come on in. and then I'll hand it off to him. Remember, guys, tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern time, we have an onboarding class over on YouTube. If you want to check us out, come join me this evening. We'll have a good time. We'll talk a little bit about the community, the environment, and then we'll get to some Q&As, and we usually end up telling some stories of things that have happened in the past and answering any questions you might have, breaking some myths, adding some myths, who knows. We have a little fun with it. So definitely join us. We'd love to see you there. 8 p.m. Eastern time. Use the PreMarket 24 code to get a discount off the intro membership. So with that said, we are all good. Aim is coming up with his list. He's looking at potential longs, MRO. He says risky, so be careful. Potential shorts, FSLY, and XBEV on his list this morning. So that is what he has there. Excellent. Let's see. Make sure I turn. Okay, perfect. All right, guys, we are all set. I'm just gonna stick around and wait for Brian. Say good morning to him, and then we can get going here. Excellent. So hopefully some of those.
Hey, good morning.
There he is. Good morning, Brian. How you doing today?
Doing okay. How are you doing?
Doing good, my friend. Doing good. All right. Hope you had a great weekend. I'm gonna hand it off to you guys over on YouTube. Have an amazing trading day, and if you're joining the onboarding class tonight, I'll see you at 8 p.m. Take care, guys.